Hello, Dippers. Welcome to Volume 36 of Hysteria. As always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Listen to all of our podcasts on iTunes and Spotify. And with me, as always, our news correspondent, Fletcher Hoig.
This is a basketball podcast, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information as it pertains to the rules around basketball. One rule that I always hear people talk about, and it's a big question, is if somebody shoots a ball and you go up to block it and you just snatch it out of the air, is it considered a steal or a block? And the thing is, it's considered a block because you can't steal a shot. Just like if you were going up to steal a pass and all you did was tip it and knock it down and somebody else picked it up and ran with it, that doesn't count as a block. And then another one somebody asked me, they said, what if two guys are wrestling for the ball and they both fall down out of bounds? What do you call?
Jump
You
ball?
don't know what to call, so that's all the more reason to call a jump ball. A jump ball is invented or put into play to help explain things that you don't have an answer to. In high school basketball, they aren't able to go back and review things, and if they can't tell who a ball is out on last or something like that, boom, jump ball. So there you have it.
What if the block shot is blocked into the opponent's basket? Who gets the point?
It's not a block.
But who gets the point? The person who blocked the person who shot it.
Obviously, the person who shot it doesn't count as a block shot if the ball goes in the basket.
So he's actually considered an alley-oop and an assist?
Nope.
Well, that's unfortunate. So, guys, basically this show, we're going to do housekeeping. So we talked about last week at trade deadline. But before we get to it, stop the noise.
Humpday. Who's Hysteria?
A Sauce on the Side production.
So, we'll start with this Boston Celtics. Last week, they didn't make any trades. We talked about that on the show, what they can do going forward this offseason, and how this might not be their year as they thought was to win a championship. Kyrie Irving's hurt, but the Celtics, through 10 games, super small sample size, are 8-2 without Kyrie Irving. I'm not going to say that they're better without Kyrie Irving, but Fletcher, do you feel like Kyrie and they kind of messed up the chemistry of the team going as a whole because he's more an ISO player who can pass it instead of a guy who just wants to facilitate?
Well, it's easier to get role players like Terry Rozier, guys who are good at maybe one or two things, to buy into what a coach wants to do versus trying to get, somebody who's a superstar to buy in on what to do. You mentioned the 8-2 without Kyrie Irving. They're outscoring their opponents greater without Kyrie Irving. They're shooting a better percentage from the floor without Kyrie Irving. They're shooting a better three-point percentage without Kyrie Irving, and they're getting more assists per game without Kyrie Irving. You saw what they did last year. I mean, Terry Rozier stepped in and looked like maybe a guy who deserved a max contract from the Phoenix Suns or was going to get a max contract from the Phoenix Suns. So, his defense was impeccable. He was fast. He got down the floor. You look at a guy like that, when you have a guy like Terry Rozier and they're buying into a system, I talked about this before, what you have to do is you have to guard the ball rather than guard the man. And it's easier to key in on one person than it is on a ball moving between five different guys. So you might not be willing to say that they're better without Kyrie Irving, but I see more AI than Kobe Bryant and Kyrie Irving's game. And so for me, I didn't talk about this a whole lot, but I thought maybe, they couldn't trade for Anthony Davis while having Kyrie on the roster. And so one thing I thought about was, why not throw Kyrie in on this deal? You have a point guard who is capable of starting in this league in Terry Rozier, and you've seen what he's done for Brad Stevens. You get a better version of Al Horford, who's able to play, the 4-5 spot. He makes your team way better defensively. Kyrie Irving, I think his value in Boston is being a little overstated right now.
Okay, so I understand you're coming from not wanting to say that or saying that the team is better without Kyrie Irving, but don't you feel like you want to have a guy on your team who can knock down a big shot when you need one? Because that's definitely a valuable thing, and people who think that Kobe is better than LeBron for some reason just basically say that. Like, if you have to score, he's going to get you the basket, that's why you want Kobe over LeBron. As stupid as that is something you can say about it.
Well, you have to be in a spot to have that big shot, and more times than not, with Kyrie Irving on the floor, they're not having those big shot opportunities, I guess. Another thing is, as far as being a big shot kind of guy, you haven't really seen him do that as a quote-unquote leader of the Boston Celtics. It's a lot easier to close a game when you have a guy like LeBron James next to you taking care of everything else on the court. So for me, the whole closer thing, I mean, I haven't seen any of that. When they made their deep run in the playoffs, they did it without Kyrie Irving. So saying that he could close the game out as a leader, I haven't seen that, and so I'm not buying into it.
So Kyrie came out 2 weeks ago, whatever, said that there's no guarantee he's going to be signed in Boston, and that's basically been people talking about. Are you kind of getting the feeling, though, that I haven't even talked about this yet, but that Boston might not offer him a contract even really, or try to get some other guys?
No, Danny Ainge definitely wants Kyrie Irving back. He gave a great analogy saying that, they're not a married couple, but they're engaged, and they're still courting each other, and they're trying to figure out that wedding date. And their wedding date is July 1st, when contract extensions can open up. So Danny Ainge definitely wants him back. He's a talented player, no doubt. I could see him not re-signing with Boston, but as far as Boston saying we don't even want you, no, I don't see that happening.
So now we'll go to a team that could get Kyrie if he doesn't stay in Boston. Los Angeles Lakers. They got blown up by the 76ers, just torched. Then they played the Hawks, I believe it was last night.
Yep.
The Hawks just came off a game against the Magic that was over at halftime. Down 21 at half, they lose to the Hawks. So, we talked about this last week, but can they make the playoffs? And we know they can, but will they make the playoffs?
They actually have, according to BPI, I think they have the toughest remaining schedule for the rest of the season. And I think 15 out of there are 15 or 16 of the last 28 games that they have now after the All-Star break or through the All-Star break are against teams that are above 500, that have above 500 records right now. And a good number of those games will also be on primetime television. So the Lakers are going to be under a huge spotlight, and they're going to be playing against primetime competition. One thing I've heard a lot of questions that people are saying about the Lakers and LeBron right now. One thing that people don't seem to understand about LeBron, is that every season now, since about his second or third year in Miami, his worst month as far as points, shooting, all that, minutes even, is the month of January. And so I know we're out of January now, but you saw lingering effects of January going on. He really hits the restart button after the All-Star break. They're going to have a tough hill to climb no matter what. And I think you're going to see a LeBron James come out focused and more locked in than ever. And so I think that they can make the playoffs. The Clippers are obviously tanking, so that's one less spot that they have to jump. If you put me in a do-or-die game where you have the LeBron-led Lakers going against the Sacramento Kings, I'm going to have to go with LeBron James. I've seen LeBron James beat a 73-win team. I've seen LeBron James go toe-to-toe with the Warriors with no Durant or no Kevin Love and no Kyrie Irving. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they will make the playoffs, but they're definitely going to be a lower seed.
So, yeah, they're definitely going to be a lower seed this season. And watching them, they're just, I don't know, chemistry is definitely not there between these guys.
No.
What do you think, do you think it's, okay, before LeBron James got hurt, 3.5 games out of first place. Mm-hmm. Came back, and there's just no chemistry at all. Do you think that something went on besides them talking about trading the entire team? Because definitely some guys bit about that. But do you think something else happened, or what do you think happened to that chemistry?
Well, the AD thing was huge, and I think it definitely had a huge effect on the locker room. It's going to carry throughout the rest of the season at least. One thing is, though, injuries. You can't understate injuries to a team. Obviously, LeBron went down. That was huge. But even while LeBron was out, they had injury issues with Lonzo Ball and Rondo. And even LeBron James has expressed interest in years past how much a backup point guard means. And having Rondo to lead that second unit, manage the ball, carry, kind of the load offensively with that second unit is huge. And then another thing is the Lonzo Ball injury. Before Lonzo got hurt, the Lakers had one of the top defensive net ratings in the NBA. Since he's gone down, that's plummeted. I think they're bottom 10 right now, even with LeBron back. So they're missing a lot of pieces there as well. Chemistry is a huge issue, but you can't understate injuries and the toll they've taken on them.
So, low seed this year if they make the playoffs. this offseason, what's their plan? Do you think their plan is more we gotta trade for AD, or we should just go try to sign a max guy and keep the young guys we have?
Well, I think that they should look at, trying to sign a guy like Durant, obviously, or Kawhi Leonard or Klay Thompson if they're out there. I also think that, with the flame kind of being rekindled between LeBron and Kyrie, maybe a month or two back, they should look at signing Kyrie Irving. That allows you to explore trade opportunities with Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and a couple picks. So, I mean, you could potentially go out there and look for a guy who happens to come on the market during the trade deadline. I mean, if they were to sign, I don't know if it'll happen. I'm doubtful it will. But let's say they sign Kevin Durant and then they sign Kyrie. They could realistically ship Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, hell, even Josh Hart if you want, and then a pick or two, and go get Brad Beal or somebody like that. Now you're looking at 4 guys with Kyle Kuzma. There's a lot of things that they could do on that roster right now. And like I said on the Monday show, the best thing that could have happened was them not trading for AD. They would have lost all their pieces, all their movable parts when they didn't really need to. They're going to be able to sign top-level guys and trade for them in the offseason now. So there are going to be moves made for the Lakers. They're going to at least sign for one guy, no doubt, and they're going to at least trade for one guy, no doubt, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, Magic Johnson, also part of the Dodgers. Every single season, the Dodgers need something, no matter what it takes, he go down and gets that something, a starting pitcher, a big bat, or whatever, and they're going to back-to-back World Series for it. So he definitely is a guy who always seems to have, 16 plans ready to go.
Yeah. He's definitely not a stupid guy. He's a smart guy, and he knows basketball very well. He's going to be able to get guys to come in and meet with him. I think, except for, Dell Demps, he's a guy who can go out and make deals happen as well.
So moving a little bit east, we're going to stay with the conference though. Russell Westbrook just recorded his record 10 straight triple-double. And triple-double again, having a very poor shooting season, we all know that, but Thunder all winning games and him and Paul George. Mm-hmm. How 2 years ago he won the MVP because he was doing this, and now it barely even got mentioned. It's just, why?
Well, I mean, people have seen it, so, there's always that they just get kind of used to it pretty much. People are talking about it's the 3rd straight season he's done this. He broke Wilt's record for 10 games in a row with a triple-double. I'm just not buying any of it because none of it's happening organically. He gooses his stats so bad. He gets those 2K assists, He'll get a rebound, he'll push it down there, and the first guy open will pass it to him, and maybe it'll go in, maybe it won't. Or he'll dribble out the shot clock and he'll dump it off to somebody where they have to shoot it, and then they, sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't or whatever. And he gets, really cheap assists that way. He plays next to Paul George. So, he's got talent around him. A lot of times they throw him at the 2. They throw Russell Westbrook at the 2 and put Schroeder out there, and Schroeder's having one of his most efficient shooting seasons. So he's got guys around him who can score the ball. He gets those kind of cheap assists. But it's so obvious to me that they goose his numbers. When you have, in the NBA, when you want it for the free throw, you always know that you have the if you're the team that's not shooting the free throw, you have your 2 guys down low, your big guys, your center and power forward. And then in between them, you have your power forward and center for the team that's shooting free throws. And then the last guy for the team that's defending, not shooting the free throw, what they have there, they have their small forward lined up. That's just how you do it. You put your biggest guys in there to try to get the rebound. All season long, Russell Westbrook has been that guy lining up in the free throw line, getting rebounds. That just doesn't happen. No one puts a 6'2", or 6'3" point guard in there to try to get rebounds. So he's goosing his numbers big time. This season he's shooting 41% from the field, 24% from the three-point line, and an atrocious 65% from the free throw line, all while averaging almost 5 turnovers a game. So, this isn't an MVP talk, but what Paul George is doing, he is really leading that team himself. He's defending at a top level. He's shooting and scoring at a very efficient clip. He is winning despite Russell Westbrook, in my opinion. And so the fact that Russell Westbrook is getting a triple-double, I get this vibe that he is now trying to intentionally inflate his numbers so that nobody notices his poor shooting performances. Don't mean to tell me a guy who's averaged 27-7 for his career, really couldn't go out there and goose his numbers for 3 more rebounds and 3 more assists a game in LeBron James. He's focused on winning and doing it in the right way that's helpful for his team. So there's nothing I can buy into it. It's like this James Harden streak. He extended his streak to 30 games against the Nuggets the other night, and I wasn't even impressed with it because he scored his 31st point in junk time when they were blowing him out. There's no reason for James Harden to be out there. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, they don't get these records because their team's blowing them out, and Steve Kerr's not an idiot, and their front office isn't surrounded by one player, and they pull him out and rest him. That's why you see James Harden just go flat in the playoffs. So the James Harden thing and the Russell Westbrook thing just really aren't important to me. They have no impact on me because I know it's not done organically. I know it's inflated. I know it's artificial.
Yeah. I was going to bring this up. I'm going to be up on next week's show. But since I already talked about him, they're going to ask you. Paul George, he's having arguably MVP season.
Yeah.
Him, Giannis, Harden. Case for all 3 of those guys. You said his team. So everybody's top 5 maybe players that have 7 or 8 guys they'll say for the top 5. Is Paul George getting in that group of 8 or 9 guys?
I mean, if you want to do a top 5 based off this season, I think he's probably top 5. It would be hard for me to make a list right off the top of my head right now, But I mean, the season he's having, offensively and defensively, carrying a team to what I think is the second best team in the West, even though they're just slightly behind the Nuggets for third. I mean, this season, if you were to take this season alone, he's top 5.
So, last year, July 1st, he signed with OKC over the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really question for a lot of people. People are like, why did he sign there with Russell Westbrook? He can go to LeBron, the Lakers, do the whole big thing. And he'd be great in the Lakers. If he's doing what he's doing at OKC on Lakers, they'd be one of the best teams in basketball.
Yeah.
But what he's doing now and the spot they're in the standings and knowing how Golden State is going to pick up after this season, anything else, is his move becoming justified earlier than they expected?
Yeah, this move is definitely justified. I think that he would still be in a better situation with the Lakers. They would have been higher than the 4 seed, I believe, going in when LeBron got hurt. They would have had a legitimate superstar to help carry them through those 17 games. Then with LeBron James back, obviously, I think they would have been propelled even to, home court advantage in the first round for the playoffs still. And the thing is, with going to the Lakers, that would be sustained success for the next 3 years while LeBron's under contract at least. I don't know if this is going to duplicate itself again next year for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but for right now, it's definitely the move has been justified for this year.
All right. And now staying on the Lakers, we'll go into Plus on the Fly. This segment every week where I ask Fletcher 3 questions. You know what they are. Ask them on the fly. The first question is a percentage. What is the percent chance that Kevin Durant says fuck it and sign with the Lakers this offseason?
15%.
That high. I thought it was going to be 0.
I almost said 25, and I thought, no way in a 1 in 4 chance that he signed there. I have to go lower. I said 15. I almost said 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because his whole career basically had been trying to get out from LeBron James' shadow.
Yeah.
And he went to Golden State, and it didn't work out. I can't see him going to L.A.
He has such a weird dynamic with LeBron. I thought that they were friends, and now it seems like as this year's gone on that he does just not even like LeBron. So, and tries to rival him in every aspect. And I think the latest rival kind of trend or proposition that he has now is he's trying to get into TV and production as well. So I don't know. Maybe 15 was a bit high, but it's a very low number, whatever it is.
Next question. Trailing the Lakers, doomsday scenario. This offseason, they can't trade for Valley Beal, Anthony Davis, anybody big, and they don't cite any of the top 7 or 8 free agent guys.
That's doomsday.
This isn't really a fly question, but just what do they do?
What do they do if that happens?
Yeah.
Whew. You have to force a trade at some point somewhere to do something. I know that's really specific, but if nobody wants to sign there and they're not able to get any trades come through, at some point you're going to have to bite the bullet and get another stupid offer like you almost did for Anthony Davis, and then just hope that you can get veterans to come sign on the minimum there like he did in Miami and Cleveland. That's not an ideal plan, and that's not what you want to have happen, but that's better than sitting on nothing. And then again, maybe right at the first third of the season with those young guys in their third, fourth year or whatever, just to see what you really have. But other than that, if that's the worst case scenario, pulling off a stupid trade to get another star quality player, top tier quality player, and then hoping the vets sign on the minimum, buyouts, that kind of thing.
We won't kind of tell you the question, but what percent chance do you think that doomsday scenario happens?
I will give that one a 5% chance.
Yeah. I can't see it happen. They're going to get something. They have to.
Yeah. You saying it, I could see it happen, but the chances of it are happening are astronomically low.
And our last question. With how bad the Lakers are right now with their pieces, and with how good the Bucks are getting, and the Raptors, who might be able to keep Kawhi Leonard, and KD going to the Knicks, wherever, what's the percent chance that LeBron can realistically win a title while he's in LA?
I'll give it a 50% chance.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
A little bit higher than I thought we were going to go with that one, but if they trade for AD or Beal and try to sign somebody else, they're the best team in the NBA next year. So
probably so. Especially, the thing is, signing Klay Thompson or Kevin Durant obviously makes you way better, but it puts a huge hole in the best team in the NBA too. So double-edged sword.
Yep. And that influence on the fly, you can find that here every single week. So now we'll go to a little bit of college shooting hoops for a minute. Kansas doing more short man now than they were last week. They were already down to Sousa and Azubuike. This week, Gerald Vick took a leave of absence. I also lost Marcus Garrett. So the all-out regular season conference tournament, March Madness, do they have a chance? Can Bill Self pull this out? And we'll start that question by saying, can they even win the Big 12, which has been their thing basically our entire lives?
Well, I'll tell you what. I watched them play. I can't remember now if it was last night or 2 nights ago when they played TCU, and I believe that TCU was actually favored in that spread, even though Kansas is ranked 14th going to play an unranked opponent. So they won the game, but the fact that Vegas, I think, had them that Vegas had TCU favored in the spread really shows something. It shows that this is not, your Kansas of old, pretty much. They're second in the league right now in the Big 12. They're just behind Kansas State by a game and a half. In losing LeGerald Vick, you lose really a top tier player and a top tier scorer shooter at the college level. You just can't replace that. That's like losing. That would be like losing a Brad Beal or somebody for a playoff team or something. That's just a huge hole. Marcus Garrett, he's a terrific defender, veteran guard. He's been there. And then Azubuike and DeSosa, losing their big men and having to rely on the freshman David McCormick. I watched him struggle early against TCU. I didn't watch the whole game, but they have serious holes. And, you mentioned playing small, and it's going to be hard to even play small right now when you lose your 2 guards like that. It's going to be an uphill climb for Kansas, even winning the regular season.
So, I don't know. Do you think they'll lock for a tournament?
Yeah, they'd have to. They'd have to really, really struggle down the stretch here to not even make the tournament.
So let's say it gets into the tournament, they get 6, 7, 8, 9 seeds, somewhere in that range. 316, can't even get to that point with what you've seen the past month.
With what I've seen here recently, no. If they get LeGerald Vick back, Marcus Garrett back, they had to bring in a redshirted freshman. They removed his red shirt and brought him in to start. And for the life of me, I just can't say his name. It's complicated. But if they get those 3 guards back, they can at least have a chance at playing small. So, missing Azubuike and DeSosa for the rest of the year, that's obviously going to be a big hole that they just can't fill with a single David McCormick. But if they get LeGerald Vick back, they get God, what's that guard's name now? I'm blanking on it.
Marcus Garrett.
Marcus Garrett, yeah. They get Marcus Garrett back. And then the redshirt freshman, I'm going to try to say his name. It's Ochai Agaji. But I don't know how to say it. He has been huge for them. He's come in and he's already getting 11 points a game as a redshirt freshman who's only redshirted 10 games. So getting those 3 guards back, they could come back and realistically play really well small. But it's like I said, it's going to be a huge uphill battle for him, and it's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to have faith in Bill Self. Like, yes, Bill Self has always had great talent at Kansas, but you don't win like he has not knowing how to coach a basketball team.
Yeah, if he makes it to the Sweet 16, if he does well in his conference tournament, somehow wins the regular season, this will be his best coaching job yet, and that's including the year he won the national championship, in my opinion.
Yep, it's safe to say that Bill Self is on the hot seat.
No,
not at all. So now we go on to a scouting portion of the show. We did this about a month or two back, but we wanted to let the season NBA kind of breathe more in college to get more into it. And plus, this next draft isn't quite as good as last year's draft was, so we got to talk about. But this week, we're going to finish up the Duke guys and go with Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish was the third best prospect that they got behind Zion and Barrett, and he also gets the third most attention, maybe the fourth most attention, maybe even behind Trey Jones. Mm-hmm. But he basically the 3-point shooter, shoots 35% from the 3, 14 points a game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Doesn't get a ton of shots, like not from the 3-point line, and doesn't get a lot of ball control being with Zion and RJ Barrett. But he's a really good player, wing guy. Fletcher, what do you think about Cam?
Well, he's 6'8", 220. That's nice to have. He's gonna grow into an NBA body. So, you look at him being able to defend a lot of guys 1 through 4 in the NBA. I think he's going to be able to do that coming into the NBA, or once he progresses in the NBA. But he struggles shooting from the field for the most part. He's a terrific 3-point shooter. I think the thing is for him with this team is that he plays next to Zion, RJ, and Trey Jones, so he doesn't get a whole lot of the ball and winds up just bending his knees and shooting on the weak side of the court a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong, he gets in the action. He definitely gets his looks sometimes, but playing that third wheel, that fourth wheel, that's hard to get in a rhythm, especially when they just expect you to be the guy from high school right now, like RJ Barrett and Zion are doing. So, getting those limited touches, it's hard to say what kind of effect that's having. But, going into the NBA, being 6'8", being 220, he's going to grow and mature into a grown man body as he goes into the NBA. That shot's going to continue to improve from 3. He's going to be a solid D&3 guy, the very worst case scenario, I think. I think he could be maybe something along the lines of Trevor Ariza, a player of that caliber. I think every team in the NBA could probably find a spot for Trevor Ariza to fit into the rotation. So
we talked about how he doesn't, control the ball basically at all at Duke. Do you think that's something he'll ever be able to do in the NBA, or do you think he'll have to play off the ball and just be more of a spot-up guy or just get open somehow kind of guy?
He could always. He could find himself into a situation where he's called upon to do more with the ball in his hands, and he could become that kind of player. But he will always have a job defending somebody and then just waiting for the ball to come his way, standing open at the 3-point line in the NBA. He'll always have a job and a role doing that. It's just depending on his skill set as he progresses and what role he finds himself in on an NBA team when he gets drafted.
I looked at some mock drafts today, and I see him go as high as I think 3 and 1, and then down to like 9 or 10 others. So 3 to 10 range, I guess, top 10 pick. Who do you think, understand right now, what do you think would be the best place for him to go?
It's hard to say where he even would go, to be honest, because so many picks have changed hands for this upcoming draft. You have a team like the Clippers. The Boston Celtics currently hold their first-round lottery pick for this year, but it's lottery protected. So, if the Clippers are going to find themselves in the lottery more than likely, he could be a potentially good fit for them. But then again, he could be traded from that pick as well, depending on how things work. But if somehow Boston kept it and, somehow that he slid like Michael Porter Jr. did, I don't think that he would be a very good fit for them because they're so loaded at guard and forward right now. So you look at teams that could use a spot-up shooter. Everybody could use one, but it's just it's too tough to say right now who's going to go where or where would even be a good fit just because so much going to change come draft night.
So recently in the draft, there have been two kinds of NBA players. There have been the players that will impact immediately, and then there are players like they have a missile impact immediately. Then there are players who took several years to impact, like Bradley Beal. Do you see him over a guy who will help you from day one, week one, year one, or a guy who would take 3 or 4 years to really become an NBA starter?
Both, pretty much. I mean, he could come in and shoot, and stand in front of somebody with his reach and size, and his frame. But he has the ability to progress into really kind of a star player in this league. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know, and I'm not super sold on it, to be honest with you. But he's a guy he's going to come in and have an impact immediately, but could progress into something kind of like maybe almost like Mikal Bridges in a sense. I think his ceiling's definitely higher than Mikal's, but Mikal Bridges came in. He has an impact for Phoenix to some extent, despite their 11 wins. But he could become something.
We've compared Zion to Charles Barkley. We've compared R.J. Barrett to James Harden.
You did that, not me.
I did that. You compared Zion to Charles Barkley. Who do you compare Cam to?
Well, I already brought up the Trevor Ariza comparison. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think he's quite the athlete as this guy, but I think his ceiling could be kind of in that role for what he provided to his team as far as being that stretch and point forward almost. That's kind of what Sean Marion did for the Suns back in the day.
Okay.
Obviously, he and Sean Marion, just based on their build and frame, are kind of different players, but in an ideal situation where Cam Reddish became a superstar, I think that's where you'd kind of be seeing him at. Maybe how they tried to use Melo later on in his career, maybe how Paul Pierce would have been used in today's NBA if he was in his prime right now. So,
yeah, I was trying to think of a comparison for him, and I couldn't really think of one because I want to say Kawhi Leonard, but I don't think he'll be as good as Kawhi.
No.
So a player that's like Kawhi's skill set, but just like a level down. I think that's what best he could be.
Well, I mean, that could be Trevor Ariza back in 2010 when he was playing next to Kobe. He played a huge role in that championship team. But, time will tell.
Yeah. I'm going to say Jimmy Butler. Screw it.
Okay.
All right. So, Fletcher, time to say it. Between Eastern Conference, we have the Pacers, who just can't lose recently. We had
they lost to the Bucks tonight, just now.
Well, that's very unfortunate for them. We had the Bucks, who just beat the unbeatable Pacers. We had the Raptors, who are always good. Who are the best team in the Eastern Conference?
Bucks. They just beat the Pacers. Pacers are the 3 seed in the NBA. One of the hotter teams in the NBA, riding a 6-game win streak. The Pacers were losing, Pacers were winning going into the fourth quarter. Bucks and Giannis managed to pull it out. So they're still my best team in the NBA, and they have the best record or best team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I'm going to go Milwaukee too. I do think they're the best team, but Toronto has won 5 straight games. The problem is Milwaukee just isn't losing enough for them to catch up. Still a game and a half back. Could definitely catch that by the end of the season, but I know Milwaukee's holding them off pretty fiercely.
Yeah, the Bucks have actually won a couple in a row, but what's really impressive about the Bucks is that they have a record of 20-9 on the road. That's just unheard of.
And our Western Conference, Golden State, nor the Thunder have lost in a week. They're both 9-1 in the last 10 games. Mm-hmm. And then Denver's hanging up there tough. I don't think it's a question. It's still Golden State.
Yeah, it's Golden State. And even though the record or the standings don't indicate it, I still think I would take the Oklahoma City over the Oklahoma City Thunder over the Denver Nuggets as far as who's second best. But yeah, for best team in the Western Conference is the Golden State Warriors.
All right, now move on to our game of the week. And it's the All-Star game. Yeah, they don't play defense at all, but defense is boring as shit to watch, and dunking and shooting threes is cool. So, All-Star game. Might not watch it very intently, but I'll watch it at least a little bit.
I'll have it on for sure. I mean, if people want to tune in for, a bunch of really awesome, amazing defense, the Super Bowl was one of the least viewed Super Bowls in recent history. I actually fell asleep early in the second quarter watching it at a friend's house, so the fact that there's going to be excitement, up and down action, that'd be cool. I'm going to go with the Rising Stars game. That's always interesting to me because in the Nike Hoop Summit, they do this whole thing of Team World versus Team USA, and a lot of times Team World will win. And you've seen Team World put together some really good pieces and some good players. And And so I always like watching that. It's kind of like a rerun or a running back version of the Nike Hoop Summit, and that's this Rising Stars game is one that I like.
Who you
pretty much
taking
the most?
Who you taking in that game? If it was played actually competitively, who you taking in that game?
Team World.
All right, who do they have still? Because I know they have Doncic, obviously.
Yeah, I'd have to go check. The World team actually has OG Anunoby, DeAndre Ayton, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Laurie Markkinen, Seti Osman, and Ben Simmons. So they got a pretty okay squad. But Team USA, they're going to have plenty of guys out there too. You're going to have your Jason Tatum's, guys like that, Jared Allen, Marvin Bagley. They have Lonzo Ball in there. They have De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Knox. Donovan Mitchell's going to be in there. So they even have Trae Young too, actually. So they got talent themselves, but I'm going with Team World team or Team World or whatever.
Make sure to check that. Make sure to check out the Steals Challenge, 3-point shot thing, the dunk contest, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
As always, this has been Volume 36 of Hysteria. From Leighton, from Fletcher. As always, Dippers, stay saucy.